Slight correction, the company is called Simplity, but we did this on purpose. Everybody goes into that trap, so it's normal. Actually, we are always joking. A friend of mine founded the company a while ago. We're joking he just misspelled the word when he registered the company. Maybe that's true, maybe not. Okay, so thank you. I'm aware it's already late, so I will try to keep this a bit, easier than maybe previous talks that have been there. So if you expect any technical details in this presentation, it's not going to happen. We can have them later in the booth over there, maybe over the beer or tomorrow. But what I want to talk about is the trend of using data, making data available for analytics and analytical purposes, for purposes beyond the original purpose they were collected for. And trends like big data, I don't like this buzzword so much, but these kind of things, and talk about pitfalls that are in this area and how to potentially overcome them. So let's see. I somehow managed to operate this thing. Okay. So let's start with one buzzword. So this will be the presentation with a bunch of buzzwords, just early warning. One of them is data democratization. So what is data democratization about? As I said, well, many of you maybe are aware of these worlds where you have a large IT department and they kind of sit on their servers, and if you want any data from them, you need to say, pretty please, and it takes like half a year until you get access to anything, or they have to build this wonderful data warehouse, which takes maybe 2 years, and when you finally get the data, you don't need it anymore. And the idea of this term, data democratization, is that enabling more the, let's say, ordinary people in the company to do analytics without needing these huge, heavy IT projects. But why the heck did I put this picture there? So what is this? This is actually purple. And there's a guy, Brent Dykes, he wrote an article in Forbes magazine a while ago, and he wrote, data is the new purple. Why did he use that analogy? Purple used to be a color which was very hard to produce. What he wrote, I never checked it really, but he wrote that you actually needed to kill some 100,000s of shellfish to create a bit of this color. So it was only available to royal families and very rich people. And he used this analogy that kind of data is kind of the same thing. So it used to be only available to the guys, who were able to do these projects and, spend a lot of money on making the data available. But this is changing, and like the purple was. And there was one guy eventually who found a way to synthetically produce this color, and from that moment on, it was not royal anymore. Everybody had access to purple. So that's kind of the analogy we're trying to use here. And what does this actually mean? This actually means, there's another buzzword there, self-service analytics, or self-service BI, or self-service data integration and analysis. And this is a picture from Gartner. And there's actually at least 2 companies I saw here at the exhibition which are in this field. There's like Tableau and there's Qlik, I've seen. So these kind of tools are in this field. So what they're doing is they're giving you as the user the opportunity to build your analytics, very user-friendly, fancy user interfaces. And they also have some, okay, this doesn't work, doesn't matter, some functionality which they call data blending. So you basically can take data from various sources and kind of try to integrate it yourself. Self-service data preparation. This all sounds very nice, right? But there are some pitfalls there which I want to talk about in this presentation and how to overcome them. One of them is, even if you are able to blend your data together yourself, the data still has to come from somewhere. You need access to that data. And what is already kind of depicted here, so you have some sources which may be your data warehouse, your databases, but some less strongly governed thing. So let's go to the next buzzword in this field, which is big data and data lakes. So as I said, I wanted to play a bit with these funny words, but so what is a data lake? A data lake is actually a repository, if you wish, which you build. It's like a data warehouse, which costs less, maybe. But what is the idea behind it? The idea behind is that you don't spend so much effort in properly designing it, properly integrating the data. You basically just dump it there, and the raw data as it is, and then it's available for those data citizens, democratized users that can then make use of that data. Again, sounds pretty good, doesn't it? So it's a nice idea. However, the hard truth about those data lakes is there's a lot of junk in them. So they're very dirty. So if you just take your data as it is and dump it there, nobody has actually made the effort to check if the data is correct, if the data is complete, what the data actually means. So all this effort that was done in those expensive projects before now is on the shoulders of that poor guy who does the analytics. And there's a study published in Forbes again that those data scientists actually spend 60% of their time cleansing and organizing the data rather than actually doing the analysis. So the brave new world of this, I can do everything, I enable everyone, is just pushing the problem to the users. So something to be aware of, at least to deal with. So maybe first lesson learned I want you to take away from this presentation is data quality management is important, even and in particular if you want to enable your people to do the analysis themselves, and if you want to broaden the use of the data. So one point to think about. But so data quality is one issue, but it's not the only one, not the only issue to think about. And there was a reason why I used the word chaos in the title of this presentation. That's the other danger, right? And I'm aware that the notion of chaos differs a bit in cultures. So I'm originally German, so maybe I'm a bit more strict than others here in this room. And I met another German, maybe like a year ago in US. He works for MicroStrategy, which is also a company in the BI field. And he actually said, self-service is the new spreadsheet. That's not exactly what he said. He actually said, Tableau is the new Excel. Nothing against Tableau, it's a good tool. But what he meant by this is what you do with these new technologies, and by pushing basically all this data preparation to the end user, you start to create your silos again. Everybody does his own thing. Everybody grabs somehow the raw data and just, basically puts it together however he wants. So you create those silos, and the problem is you have a fragmented understanding of what your data means. How to address that? Something we call data governance. Basically, it's about identifying, properly describing your data. It's about data quality, as we talked about before. And it's about knowing where the data comes from and where the data is stored. Data lineage being the key word here. So if I sum this up in, again, a lesson learned, metadata, or business metadata, meaning giving business users the ability, if they see some data somewhere, to know what it actually means and where it comes from. So that's the second topic, which we see actually as a very important point to deal with in this field. So data quality, but also metadata and data definitions, what data means, where does it come from, where is it stored. So, having this said, let's share with you some experiences we have from some projects that we did. One was Bank of Ireland. Oh, wrong picture. So my birthday happens to be on St. Patrick's Day, so yes, we also had some fun there. I actually wanted to use this picture. So what did we do in Bank of Ireland? In Bank of Ireland, we helped them actually creating a business data model or a catalog of what data they have in their BI environment. And actually, we started there just, as a project. This was a services kind of project, consulting kind of project. And this was a huge thing. This was like, for half a year, I would say something like 1,000 person days, just understanding what their data means, discussing if somebody talks about exposure, what does he actually mean? agreeing between risk and finance what they mean when they use this term, and harmonizing basically those descriptions of the data and understanding what are their data requirements. So that was quite an effort. And of course, as you usually do, we started with Visio, drawing some diagrams, and Excel with lists of attributes. So that's more or less what you see here. And of course, that didn't work so well. It was basically, if you worked with like 4 teams in parallel, maintaining an Excel, you may have had those experiences that's not the best idea. So that's when we actually started to build a product, which you can see at our stand over there. This is not supposed to be the advertisement presentation now, but lesson learned here is collaboration is a key. So you need to enable people to work together on this thing, because you cannot centralize it. You cannot have one single person who knows it all. It's about bringing the business people together, the different business departments together, and to agreeing on terminology and to agree on what data means. And that requires also proper tools around it. So as I said, this was a big project. I don't want to go through the details here. So another problem is you can discuss certain things forever. Even the definition, what is an active customer? You can discuss this in an organization for half a year and still not agree, because marketing will most likely have a different view on this than risk, and then finance will. So sometimes it's also good to agree to disagree. And lesson learned from that perspective, stringent project management. Make sure you reach a certain value in a certain amount of time, and don't discuss things to the end, or to the end if you're lucky, but to death, not to death. That's the point. So that's another lesson from Bank of Ireland, what we did there. Let's look at another client as well. It's a completely different industry, bottling machine manufacturer in Germany. They have a similar problem. They have lots of data, and they want to enable their people to use it. But they don't really know what data they have where. It's not properly documented. But also they don't have, at least they don't want to, spend half a year project and 1,000 person days to do this. So what we're doing with them is actually based on that product I talked about. We built a prototype to semi-automatedly create this metadata, to guide them through their data and step by step basically help them to make those definitions. And I really think personally that this is the key going forward when you may want to have this kind of thing or this approach broader in also industries who don't have data governance departments of tens of people. So the key there is automation. Use the modern technologies that are out there to support the people in building this metadata. So that's another aspect I wanted to share. Yeah, so having that said, of course, we can have 1 minute of advertisement. So we do have a software product. I'll keep this short. We can have the more detailed discussions at the booth. So we have something what we call glossary, which is about those data definitions and lineage and where data is stored and what it means. We have something called quality, which is about measuring data quality, monitoring data quality over time. And we have something called reference, which is about maintaining lists of values, hierarchies. And the newest keyword I laid today was parameterization. It's a strong word in banking, I understood. So that's what we also can do with that. But let's once more have that discussion separately. Pulling it all together, I will keep this even shorter, is basically another buzzword, because I started with one, let's end with one. That's logical data warehouse. That's again a Gartner term, which basically say, okay, don't worry so much. You don't need to build your huge data warehouse. You don't need to spend your 2-year project to build your heavy-duty thing. You can have a combination of various repositories. You can have some virtualization. It all doesn't matter so much. But if you do that, you need metadata, and you do what they call taxonomy and ontology, which is exactly what we also refer to as business metadata. And you need data quality management as well. So, yep, that's basically just re-emphasizing what I gave you as a lesson learned before. Which leads me just in time to the last slide. Visit us over there, just right there, Simplity. And say big data one more time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you also. In spite of the picture with the green hat, Torsten is not from Ireland, but from Germany.
Yes, exactly.
Could you tell me, please, how are you helping clients in dealing with the GDPR stuff?
GDPR is actually a very good keyword. Thanks for that one. Which, because basically, if you look at this, we have so far mainly been active in banking because they were forced to look at these topics from regulatory perspective. They had Basel, they had IFRS, they had BCBS 239. These are all just funny regulations that forced banks to look into metadata, to look into lineage, etc. Other industries were not forced so much to do this. They are realizing this also here and there. Like Kronis, for example, this bottling company came from their own. But there's actually one other topic, a regulatory topic, which is across industries, that's GDPR, which forces you to identify what data you have about private individuals, which data is personal critical or personally identifying data, and what is personal sensitive data. And you need to be aware what data you have, and you need to prove whether you have a consent or another reason, a justification to have that data. And you can imagine what you need to do as first. You need to first know what data you have before you can decide which of that data is relevant in GDPR terms. So we are actually partnering, for example, with companies like Deloitte at the moment to address, because we are not lawyers, but we have the tools to do this assessment, to find out what data you have and which of this data is classified as critical. So basically the data side, the documentation side fits actually very well into our world. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience?
Hi. Sorry.
Name, please, and company.
I'm Irini from Metro Systems. In your experience in data lake, is it normal to have redundancy? Is it okay to have it?
It's very normal to have redundancy actually in a data lake. I mean, I would say in this becoming philosophical discussion, what is a data lake and what not, but I would say in general, the idea of a data lake is to put less effort into structuring and modeling and designing how the data is stored. So having that said, of course, there's nothing wrong with having redundancy, but, and now comes the important but, you should know it. You should be aware of it. And that's again where the metadata comes into play. If you know this same piece of information is stored there and there, that's fine. And it may be there for different reasons, for different purposes, in different timing, whatever you may have as requirements. So I would say in general, there's nothing wrong with that, but you should know it. That's the point.
Thank you. Another question from the gentleman in the back.
Hello, my name is Victor from Maera Technology. My question is your logical data warehouse built based on other data warehouses? How it is? Is it one model or do you have complex models?
Yeah. Again, thanks for that question. First of all, to make things clear, we don't have a logical data warehouse solution as such. I must say, when I read, you saw maybe the Gartner kind of cool vendor thing, and when I read in the first draft we received that they described us as a logical data warehouse vendor, my first reaction was, no, we are not. But if you think about it a bit, we do provide tools to support a logical data warehouse. So what does this mean? So we, as a services company, of course, would build a logical data warehouse for companies. And that can be, the whole idea of a logical data warehouse is that it's heterogeneous, that it's diverse. So you can have a combination of the, let's say, strongly governed data that you need for your financial reports, and that will be in an Oracle data warehouse, Teradata data warehouse, well modeled, well defined. And you have the let's say, less strongly governed data that you use for your marketing purposes or other, let's say, less critical purposes, that will be in the data lake, not properly modeled, not properly governed. And what we would do is we would provide the umbrella around these worlds, the common metadata, the common, basically, business layer to know what data is there actually and where it is stored. So yes, it can be heterogeneous, it can be diverse.